We're in the jungle. Huh. I'm looking for an endangered animal known as a human Homo sapien in this world of apes. That's all I got.
Have you found them? So I wasn't sure if you wanted me to, chime in.
Yeah, because then you would break the immersion with your Rebel Moon background, which is actually the first movie we're talking about, but I wanted to start. By the way, this is Weta's work in the background here. Weta did the VFX for this podcast episode. So thanks, Weta. Very
Good
talented
job.
VFX people, yeah. There's a lot of money to get this background and make it look like I was really in a jungle.
You know where you are? You're in the jungle, baby. Like Guns N' Roses. You get the idea.
Yeah. But we can start with Rebel Moon Part 1.
Part two.
Part
The Scargiver.
Am I the one getting scarred?
I think we're all scarred.
By Zack
Scargiver, fame, fucker, whatever.
Snyder scarred all of us. He scarred his fans. The Snyder heads must be fucking eating their own words now. Oh, he's the greatest director alive.
Is that what they're called? The Snyder heads?
I don't know. That's what I call them. Yeah, this movie is horrible.
It's pretty bad.
I strongly disliked it.
The Scargivers among them. Those this village holds most dear. I shall destroy them.
I mean, it seemed like everyone disliked this movie.
Yeah, I don't know if it has many fans. I mean, the ratings are pretty low, and yeah, it doesn't seem like there was much fanfare from it. Because I mean, when did it premiere on Netflix? Like last week?
Couple weeks ago. Probably at the time of this recording, it'll be a couple. At the time of this coming out, I mean, it'll be a couple weeks. But yeah, it's like a big dud. And compare that to Dune. That was the #1 movie of the. Yeah, like I think Rebel Moon is like number 8 now. Like Rebel Moon Part 2, it's number 8 on Netflix's like
top 10 movies,
top 10 or whatever.
Yeah,
which I don't believe is valid in any way, like legitimate. Like I don't think it's actually. I think they manipulate that rating top 10 thing, but that's beside the point.
Sure.
I even so, I expected it to be higher. Considering it's like this big sci-fi epic. But yeah, it's just horrible. So they're trying to bury it. Yeah. The Dune comparisons. I've been screaming about Dune. I remember even in our last discussion of it. I was just like Dune. You can't help but compare the two. I mean, it's like Part 1, Part 2.
Yeah, big sci-fi epic, and on a distant planet, and yeah, Dune Part 2 was a far better film in all respects.
Yeah. It's funny, we got the same, like we got the best science fiction movie, or one of the best I've seen recently,
Sure.
in the same year as one of the worst, probably. This really is. It's just horrible.
It's pretty bad.
Poorly executed.
Overwhelming. It's a slog.
Lack of like depth or like I was not engaged at all.
No, me neither.
Any
It's
of the characters.
misbegotten.
Like you don't give a shit about anyone. It's a lot of the returning cast from the first one.
Pretty much,
Sofia
yeah.
Boutella and
most everybody, yeah.
Jimon Hansu, Ed Skrein.
Yeah, I mean some
Sheldon
good actors.
Smith,
I mean, like they've been good in
Duna
other
Bay.
things.
Yeah, like Duna Bay's character, like that was her fight scene in this. I saw it online before. I saw the movie. It was like one of those clips that was posted online. People were sharing around, and it's just like it's so embarrassing, like that character, right?
Is she the one with the like robotic arm?
Yeah.
And
there's like she has like this like thrown in subplot with a little boy who she befriends.
He dresses like a Dickensian orphan. He has a little, cap on. I feel like he should have been selling the paper.
And then, like, at the end, I mean, I'm spoiling it, but who gives a shit? Like, at the end, she's, like, dying, and he's like, oh, I cared for you. Thank you so much for saving me. Like, are you supposed to give a shit about these people? Like, they're barely developed. I mean, come on.
Of course they are.
This is so cheesy. Right.
Yeah, and it's very unbalanced too, because I feel like the first half is all blah blah blah, backstory. Like they literally go around the table at one point and sharing different backstories. One guy's like, my world, and they're all like super dramatic too. Like my mother, our world was coming down. You see like the city being blown up, and like his mother does a fucking head her off a railing of their palace.
So fucking bad.
It's so
like an
corny.
anime. It's like a fucking live action anime, not in a good way.
It's funny you say that
cheesy.
because when I just watched the second one today, and I was flipping around on Netflix afterwards, and like I just cleanse the palate, and I put Kill Bill on the first one, and that has that anime backstory, and that's like a great sequence. But yeah, like that's actually creative, and these are just very uninspired, at least to me. It's just kind of like the man, the empire was taking us down, but I found hope.
Exactly. In Kill Bill, that scene makes more sense too, because it's about Japan. That movie, it's like a samurai film.
Yeah, sure.
Style, and it's paying homage to like that. Having an anime in that makes sense. Yeah, and it's a good sequence too.
Yeah, the dialogue is pretty pedestrian, and it's funny towards the beginning. I guess so the rebels, whatever, the squad, they're on this. Is it like the planet they were on at the beginning, like in the first movie? They're coming back, or I couldn't even tell.
Yeah, it's the same planet. That's one of my biggest criticisms of this movie, is that they're reusing all the same sets and stuff, same locations.
Yeah, and like it's one of the first scenes of the movie. Like they come in, it's like the villagers have a feast prepared. Like the guy goes, "You must be hungry. We have prepared this food to show our gratitude." I'm like, what am I listening to? Like the audio description? Like I can glean that just from watching. Like he needed to express that.
Yeah, bad writing. But yeah, it's like the same fucking set from the first movie. It's just like reusing all the same stuff. Yeah, it seems so cheap to me to just be reusing the same stuff from the first movie when it should be like more expansive. This is the second movie. You should be paying off stuff, and I don't know. It felt very cheap. Felt like it lacked any innovation. Like they had no trick or ace up their sleeve. No new. Were there new characters really?
I guess like maybe like some of the villagers. I don't remember. I mean, we just watched the first one in December. I like barely remember.
Yeah, one notable. And that first one had like Charlie Hunnam, and
he got
who's
killed
not
off.
in this one at all. Yeah, he gets killed. And
like because we mentioned Dune. The second one, it doesn't have like a ton of new characters, but at least it's Florence Pugh and Christopher Walken. There's some new faces to like fresh things. It also helped too that. At the beginning of that, Florence Pugh's character, she kind of gives like a recap of the first one, just like a quick little description, just in case people, it had been like a couple of years since the previous one, but this one doesn't do much hand holding. It just kind of like jumps right back in.
Yeah, because nothing of substance happened that I can remember. I don't remember anything about that first one, which is a negative thing about it. It's not a memorable film.
No.
Even Dune 1, I remember the production value was shit. Like, it felt very cheap, as I was saying, and just like the editing and lighting and these things that Zack Snyder is known for. His visual aesthetic was like completely absent in this film. The CGI was fine, but not like innovative though. Like it was serviceable. I won't say it's like bad CGI.
I would agree. I don't think it has like terrible effects.
No, but it's not inspired. It's not like it doesn't wow me like the other movie we're going to talk about today. It's just like serviceable effects. It's kind of like the kind of thing you can see on YouTube. Honestly, like there's like VFX channels on YouTube that do stuff like you see in this movie. It's not special.
Yeah, and you kind of like you said, you're not engaged in what's going on, and also too like the second the latter hour of the movie's like almost all action. And it gets exhausting. You gotta like pace it out. But especially we think something like the Mad Max movies. Furiosa's coming out I think next week as of this recording, and you think how well paced those movies are. Like they take there's a lot of a lot going on, but like they take a breath when they need to. It doesn't become
if you're invested in like the story and the characters, then lots of action is great at the climax, but you're not invested in these characters. So it's very monotonous, the ending.
Yeah.
It's incredibly tedious and frustrating. Because you're just like, I could just be watching like a blank screen right now. I could give a fucking shit.
Yeah, you kind of get tuned out, and it's we mentioned, I think when we covered the first movie, it has like both actors that played Dario in Game of Thrones, and Dario kills himself basically at the end there. The actor who took over the role kills the original guy.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that. Yeah. Very bad. Yeah, that whole ending was just like I'm like, oh yeah, he died. Like I just remember that because that whole ending is like fucking boring.
It's like, very boring. Yeah,
he's just showing Molly.
Yeah, it's so boring that it makes cats yawn.
It was just funny how she appeared like that.
Yeah, she's a more memorable character than anybody in Rebel Moon.
Her ass now. That's what cats do. Hey Molly.
Yeah, she did not like Rebel. I mean, she hasn't seen him, but yeah, I don't think she'd like him either. It doesn't have much appeal for cats.
Our special guest for today, Molly.
Yeah. Say hi, Molly. She's walking. Might get down.
She's going away now. Aw. See you later. Thanks for coming on. Feel free to come on another time. We need guests.
Yeah.
Guests in the future. Yeah.
We'll have some.
We'll have Hendrix on.
Yeah. He's a big, Godard fan.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
the Scargiver. What do you think of? Do you like the title?
They're talking about a director's cut for this movie. Have you heard about that? R-rated director's cut. It's such a gimmick now.
Yeah, what would be the difference if it's like what you see, blood a couple times?
You see some titties. You see Shaimon Hansu's wee wee. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean he's a charismatic actor, but yeah, he's not. His character's like whatever. He yells a lot. He's like just like a war cry.
Yeah, that's his acting in this movie.
It was a lot of that.
That's his whole performance, basically. That's everyone's performance in this, or just like looking tough, and being in slow motion. That's not acting, but the slow motion, like you were sending me clips. There's just like slow motion, damn fucking. Going
a lot of harvesting.
There's a lot of that shit.
Yeah, wheatgrass. Yeah, it's like Days of Heaven, but bad.
And they're singing some fucking horrible song. No, this movie sucks. Fuck you. Yeah.
What a waste of time.
This movie's
the
garbage.
music's that's another cheesy element is the score. There's a lot of I don't know if it's like a choir, like a woman singing or something, some baloney.
Horrible. In the R-rated cut, it's much better. They add a scene of I don't know.
He says "fuck" twice instead of just once.
The director's cut idea, like the Snyder cut, that made sense to do.
Yeah, sure.
That director's cut, 'cause
extenuating circumstances. Yeah,
sure.
I don't have an issue with
that's
that.
not his movie. They let him make the movie he wanted to make. Fine. It's clearly a very different movie. I don't see how a director's cut would even remotely alter like the quality of these two films.
Nah,
I don't give a shit either way. It's not like, they expand on the world or whatever. Like, I don't want them to expand on the world. It's not interesting.
No. It's not like, you'd make a good movie great. It's it already kind of feels, very elongated because it's, the second part of, 4 hours of movie.
Yeah. I mean, the whole thing, like, it's like fan service for Snyder Cut fans. And that's what a director's cut would be, even more fan service. Like, do you need even more fan service?
Yeah. I don't know how well this is, being received by the Snyder heads, as you call them.
I like that term.
Yeah, we could stick with that. Yeah, there's just not much, appealing about it's the characters. Yeah, again, they're not very compelling, and at the end, like the Michelle Huisman's character like dies. He had like no fucking personality.
I
could give a shit when he, it's very cliche. I think that's the big another big problem. Like even with the villains, like, whatever her character's name is, some people tell like she's on board, and the other guy's like, that's impossible. Like, well, I guess it's not impossible if she's on. It's just like just like the way they speak. It's there's like no surprises really.
And they're talking about making sequels to this, which they should definitely not fucking do.
It kind of felt like they were setting it up, and and I was like,
they should
groaning.
not pursue this idea at all. I mean, maybe they'll make it some like fucking animated series or something on Netflix. You know how they do that? Like they did that with Blade Runner. Just like
but Blade Runner's much more well known,
right?
And,
exactly.
Been around.
But, Zack Snyder loves. I just probably gave him an idea right now. He'll probably just like make it an anime. Like that's already what this is anyway. It's just like a big masturbatory thing, homage.
Masturbatory.
Yeah, it's just like make it an anime if that's what you want to do. Like just stop making these movies, please.
Yeah, that is. It seems to have like these two, the Rebel Moon movies. They kind of have similar problems to Batman v Superman. Just too ponderous. Way too much kind of or Man of Steel, like just numbing action without much weight behind it. A lot of laser beams being shot around.
Again, it's just none of that action matters at the end because you just don't care about these characters. All that development was so corny. And forced, yeah. Man, there's like some other guy who came in toward the end. There's like some other. There were new characters. Like there was like that girl with the shaved head.
Wasn't she in the first one?
She was. Oh, okay. But she like comes back to save them. Is she like in the same tribe as whatever fucking
Ray Fisher?
Ray Fisher, yeah, Ray Fisher's in it too. He like comes in toward the end.
Well, I laughed a few times, and at the beginning they
not
revived
intentionally. Yeah.
Well, not like a
not
funny
like
joke.
an intentional, right? Yeah.
Not for the right reasons, and they revived the villain character at the very beginning, and one of the gods. He has like a little. The evil gods, like they have caps on. They look like slices of pepperoni. They're very circular.
Yeah.
And he goes, "We don't detect any brain activity." I was thinking, like, that's us watching this movie.
Yeah, that's like Zack Snyder writing this movie. Ugh. Yeah. Horrible, monotonous. Incredibly derivative at this point. I can't. Dune and Star Wars goes without saying. Every great
Seven
movie.
Samurai. Not the sci-fi movies. Yeah, like westerns.
That too. Even right, like that samurai movies and so on. Anime. We're not alone on this. Generally negative reviews. Right, so everyone's pretty much piled on this. I don't even think Snyder fans would defend this one. This is kind of in the realm of like Sucker Punch, one of his like horror. This is a half star. I hated it. I think it's one of his worst films, and it was insulting and boring, incredibly boring, which is one of the worst things you could be. Like I would rather be watching a blank screen. Like like I'd rather my TV be off. And stay tuned for a full review in the future because I'll probably dissect these even further because there's just so much wrong with them. I could spend like years of my life dissecting them at this point.
Breaking it down. So you're not going to watch the behind the scenes featurette that's on Netflix?
I will, just to see how this happened. How did this happen?
Why would this happen? And
and I do think the first one's better just because it did have a little bit more going on. I think with like Charlie Hunnam and so on. Although I got kind of lost in that film too. I think that one's also horrible. I think I lowered my rating for that one too. So I lowered my rating for that one after seeing this one. Fuck this movie.
Unsatisfying franchise.
Yes. Very unsatisfying. Can't wait for more. And the director's cut.
Rebel Moon 3, I don't know.
Where they CGI out
the Stairmaster.
Yeah. They CGI out the bad writing instead of the bad lip.
Yeah. Right. Justice League reference.
Yep. Okay, so there's Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
We could talk about this.
Better movie.
The elders did not tell us everything about this world. Bend for your king. Apes hunt humans. That is wrong.
Stories by Wes Ball.
Yeah, he did the Maze Runner movies, which I never saw. That's like another. That was with Hunger Games especially. Like after that, like there were so many like YA adaptations, like Divergent, whatever whatever some of the other ones were. Mortal Instruments. Yeah, so I never saw the Maze Runner movies.
It's a sequel to
War
for the Planet of the Apes. Yeah, it's kind of like I'm just trying to figure out like where it is in like the franchise. It's
guess
the fourth installment technically
of like the newer ones. Yeah, I think it's at
ones.
least what is it like? I think at least the 10th total.
Yeah,
like in
it's
the
the
whole
10th.
Is it the 10th? Yeah, I almost thought there were more, but yeah, I guess that sounds because there were like
That's plenty. 10 movies.
I think 5 like in the 20th century, then the Tim Burton one, and then these more recent 4, like starting with Rise of the Planet of the Apes. I think
starting with the James
20.
Franco one, and then Andy
He's not in
Serkis
this
also.
one. Yeah,
He's only in that first one. Yeah, it's the Andy Serkis trilogy. I
Caesar trilogy. Yeah,
Caesar. Yeah, it's my favorite salad. Damn good salad.
What about Cobb?
Cobb, like the character from Inception.
Yeah.
Got him. Okay, so the plot of this movie, it's set like 300 years after the last one. It's like very disconnected. It's almost like I could see how it could be a bad thing because it's kind of like House of the Dragon problem where it's very disconnected. But I do think like the first 3 movies play into this movie a bit.
Yeah, they do mention Caesar.
Yeah, and it's part of the story, like his legacy and so on. Not to give too much away.
Yeah, what's funny is you mentioned it. It's set 3 centuries later. I did not get that. I mean, I knew it's set after, but I didn't know that it was meant to be like hundreds of years after the previous one. While watching it.
Oh yeah, like did you miss the beginning title card or whatever?
Maybe I just missed the fact that it said like 300 years later. I remember the title card.
It's just like this huge gap of time. So
right.
Human beings at this point are basically almost extinct.
Except for William H. Macy, he's there.
From what I gather, it's a little more like is it Charlton Heston one?
Yeah, have you not seen the original?
I have. It's just been a while.
Yeah, it's a good movie. I remember watching it. I liked that a lot as a kid. I mean, that was before the newer ones came out. But yeah, it still holds up. It's a cool concept.
Yeah, as far as the time period, it feels like a little more like that one, probably, than like the James Franco. Like those are kind of like more prequel films. In my mind.
Sure.
Yeah, and this is more like the Charlton Heston kind of era. Like
more like status quo kind of. With the
like this is the status
ape.
quo now. Yeah, like human beings are just like fucked, and the apes take over everything, and and it's that right. That's the status quo, and it's been that way for like hundreds of years to the point where they don't even know that human beings used to like have a society and like all this stuff, whatever. Like they had no idea. And that's like what the characters learn in this movie, which is kind of interesting. But yeah, I think mainly the draw of this movie is the visual effects and the CGI.
Yeah, atmosphere.
That stuff. Yeah, that stuff. Which I think is it is a technological achievement. Just like the last 3 were. I think each film they really pushed the boundaries with the CGI in these, and this one, it's probably like 90% CGI. I wouldn't be surprised. Although I looked into the behind the scenes, and apparently like they do go to locations a lot.
Yeah, I got that impression. It looked like there were some like real backgrounds.
So they do go to the jungle, and then I guess there's like no behind the scenes footage for this movie yet. So I'm just like guessing, based on like what I know about visual effects, which isn't very much. But yeah, like they're like wearing those suits or whatever. Like
the dots,
in the jungle, and then they record it and like bring it to real life. But it's really hard to tell like what's CGI and then what's environment. I'm sure there's some points where it's just like a fully CGI environment, like when they're on that boat there, like that huge like boat that's like a prison or whatever they, where they get captured at the end of the movie. I'm sure there's a lot of CGI there, but it's really hard to tell where it like begins and ends. It's like extremely well done, I thought, and yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty seamless, and basically the plot follows this younger ape. What was his name? I'm blanking on it now.
Noah, right?
Noah. Yeah, Noah.
Yeah.
And yeah, he lives with this tribe. Like a big thing is they connect with birds. They have a kinship for it's like his father's like the bird master. He's got a falcon, whatever it is on his shoulder, and then these gorillas come in and they mess shit up and tear down, destroy their village, and Noah has to find his tribe, and along the way he meets another an orangutan, I guess.
Yeah, like another monkey. Yeah.
And another primate. Yeah. No, this girl.
Another ape. Yeah.
They call her Nova, but then her real name is.
And then they meet a human girl too.
Yeah.
Along with the
Freya
chimpanzee.
Allen.
Yeah. Freya Allen, who's in the Lord of the Rings show or whatever, Rings of Power, right?
Okay.
Is that her?
It might be, and the Noah's played by Owen Teague, I think that's his name. He was in It. I don't remember which kid because there were like 10 kids in that movie, but yeah, I know he was in that.
And Freya Allen is May, or they call her that because they call the other thing that's like their term for humans, Nova. They basically call humans that.
It's gonna be May
because they're so rare, like in this world.
Yeah, and eventually Noah finds a tribe, he and May, and then there's this like evil king played by Kevin Durant, who's been a bunch of stuff. He's usually villain roles. He was in Lost, X-Men Origins Wolverine, which we covered. And then, so I guess some of the apes, they invoke Caesar's name, but for the wrong reasons, like, and yeah, conflict ensues. And, it's like a debate where they're like, they should, preserve, human artifacts like books and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And it's kind of that conflict of like the previous movies explored, the apes and the humans, can they coincide peacefully?
Yeah.
It's that again. Although this time it's a little more weighted toward the apes because it's basically the apes world now. And it's like, should we coincide with humans? Humans are more in like the ape status, like in our world now. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, because the previous ones, like particularly something like, Dawn, for the planet, like that was a bit more like human centric. I mean, obviously Caesar's very prominent, but yeah, like there aren't as many human characters in this one. Yeah, even compared to like War for the Planet of the Apes that had like Woody Harrelson as the antagonist. Like that was like a big conflict between him and Caesar.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I enjoyed the movie. I think my biggest problem is it is kind of like just like another installment. There's not like a ton of forward progression in the whole saga.
It is a bit redundant. Yeah, again, it's that conflict again of the humans and the apes. The villain character in this, he's good. He does remind me a bit of like the previous villains. The Woody Harrelson character even, it reminded me of him a bit. Just like an ape form.
Yeah.
And it is interesting how he invoked the name of Caesar, like, in like a negative way, and built up his own like kind of cult based on like Caesar's legacy and how fucked up that it. Yeah, but so I do like the science fiction. I like the world building. I think it really was interesting, an interesting story, which is important. And like I definitely want to stress that, like on top of like the CGI and whatever, because that's all impressive. But yeah, it is in service of like a story and characters that you really care about, and that's really why I like all these Apes movies, these new ones. They are really in service of like good characters and like really good CGI characters. Like, these ape characters, these are completely computer generated, and you like really do care about them, and it's really ambitious, and like you're talking about Dawn, how it's very human centric, focusing on the humans, probably because back then they couldn't like animate the apes for as long as they can now, and now they can make a movie with like hundreds of apes, and it's like 2 hours long, and like computers are capable of that now, and just like we can make these movies that are like completely digital, just with that no problem at all.
Yeah, even
it
just
is really
like
impressive.
in the past decade, a lot of scenes in this one, like particularly towards the end, involve the apes and in water, like a building being flooded. Maybe after Avatar: Way of Water, like they're
they mentioned that in the behind the
animators.
scenes. Yeah, they're like that film built a lot of the technology that we were able to like expand on and make this film, like the flooding at the end. Yeah, like the water simulation there, it's like incredible, or like the fire. When they're like going around with the torches in one scene, I was like, oh, that looks great. Or like whenever there's a campfire or whatever, like really good lighting, and yeah, it's like incredible now, And I think they use like machine learning a bit with like this stuff and whatever, but there's still like an artistic hand in it also. Like there's clearly like hundreds of people like animating all this stuff, but. Then there's like the little shit like the hair on their head, right? Like that's like you can't animate that. You need like simulations to do that. And just like how these simulations have gotten better over like 10 years. It's really interesting to see. Just from like the first James Franco movie, like what we were able to do then. It's still pretty good considering the time, but now it's like crazy like what we can do. So yeah. Props to like the CGI people who made this stuff, cuz the emotion of like the characters and stuff really came across, and yeah, I don't know, I enjoyed it. I was comparing it a bit to like the Hunger Games
prequel
reboot that came out.
Yeah.
The is it a prequel?
Yeah, it's a prequel. Yeah,
it's a prequel. Yeah, I wasn't as much of a fan of that. Kind of like trying to start a new franchise or whatever. I do think like the visual effects angle kind of makes this one a little more interesting to me. And I don't know if they can like maintain that in future movies, but as far as this movie, I enjoyed it.
They didn't use the classic song from The Simpsons, Dr. Zaius, Dr. Zaius. I'm sure people know that scene. But yeah, it's solid time with the movies. Like the summer movie seasons, getting started now. The Fall Guy, we like the Fall Guy, but I don't think it's doing like super well. Yeah, so we'll see as things move along. Maybe there'll be other big blockbusters.
Yeah, Fall Guy. I really enjoyed Fall Guy too. Yeah, that one kind of just came and went. But yeah, good stunts, and yeah, I really enjoyed that one.
It ended with a country song, but
right. It's a solid summer movie. I would consider like May to be the start of the summer movie season. So yeah, this
not the character May.
The character May. Oh yeah, in this movie.
Yeah.
The season or the month of May, and it's not a season.
Yeah.
The season of summer starts in the summer movie season starts in May.
You got it.
I don't know about real summer. It doesn't feel like summer weather right now.
I think it starts in June officially.
It does,
yeah, it's like June 21st.
But I like equate like. Well, kids start getting out of school in summer, right? Or in May. I keep like fucking up all the.
Well, I mean, like college kids, not so much like grade school kids. That's usually in
maybe
June.
like late May in some places.
Not that.
Really.
I mean, I guess depends.
I guess
on
it just depends.
Not in like New England or
Yeah, not New England,
York.
but I think in like California.
Yeah, maybe
because
they don't have snow days really. They might have
I think they get
heat
let
days.
out earlier. Yeah, and then they go to school earlier, like August.
Yeah, because I remember, some years it'd get out like it's almost July.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's different. I think where you are.
Right.
Let us know in the comments below.
Yeah, you can comment. Because hopefully you're not watching Rebel Moon. You can just comment on when your school gets out.
Don't watch that. Yeah, you could be watching something good like Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, or even Fall Guy.
Yeah. Or Challengers.
Or Challengers. That was good too. Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff. Or
Madam the
Winnie
Beekeeper.
The Pooh, Blood and Honey 2. The Pooh-verse.
One other funny, one more thing about Rebel Moon is, Sophia Batella's character. Just a quick thing.
Yeah,
Sophia Batella's character, she describes herself as a war orphan. I thought she was going to say a warphin. They didn't combine they didn't make Warfin.
That would have been really funny.
Yeah, it's okay because it's it's fictional.
Yeah. We have a question. This is like the Q&A segment. I'm gonna post another question thread on our Reddit. So go to the Reddit, the Ralph the Movie Maker podcast Reddit, and leave a question there for us. I haven't posted a thread there in a while, but this is the new thread, which I'll leave up for a while. You leave your question there if you want us to answer it. Okay, so this is a question from Dylan the Mass Viddle. Hopefully we haven't answered this already.
Yeah, hi, Dylan.
You'll probably remember. I don't remember answering this one. But it's from a while ago. That's why I asked that. What are your thoughts on script revisions? Asking your peers what they think. Do you believe you should always go with your gut instinct or allow the story to be approached from different viewpoints? I think that's interesting because you just sent me script notes on something.
Yeah.
And I do think script notes are valuable. And yeah, but tell me what you think.
Yeah, they're definitely helpful, because I studied, screenwriting and, in grad school, and yeah, it's helpful just to have different perspectives, and not even necessarily like, oh, like this scene sucks or whatever. Sometimes it's like, well, why is this character doing this? Like, maybe like you just didn't even like explain as a writer. Maybe you didn't explain something well enough, or just because it's clear to you, in your head doesn't mean it's coming across that way on the page. So yeah, it can be helpful in that sense. It's not always as simple as like, oh, change this, do that kind of thing. It's just having like an outsider's perspective.
Mm-hmm. Even like little things, yeah. Like I sent you something, you're like, where did these characters come from here? Like they come out of nowhere. I'm like, oh yeah, I can write this in. Like, oh, it makes the writing better ultimately. I do think, having people look at your work and send you notes and revisions is obviously helpful. I think the more you work on something, the better it gets, just naturally, if you're like writing. Like if you write something and you just revise over and over, it's just gonna get better. Like I don't think it's possible for it to get worse unless you're just really bad at revising things.
Or if you're like just change maybe just
change the whole story,
changing for the sake of change, and then like the story doesn't make any sense anymore, kind of thing.
Exactly. But just making like tweaking it a little bit at a time and making like decisions that make sense and like it just makes work so much better, right?
Yeah, it's a good idea to open yourself up to feedback. You don't want to be like too precious, and as the person doing the revision, you don't want to like just give like empty compliments, and also not like you don't want to be like this fucking sucks. I try to like go down the middle, or usually I'd be like I liked what you did here, but maybe change this, And one of my professors was funny, he said, the tie goes to the, when it comes to like getting feedback from, professor and your peers, like the tie goes to the writer. Like if, two teams feel this way, but you feel that way kind of thing, then, you can leave it up to you. So, because sometimes, people have different opinions and you just, decide what works best.
Right. The writer negotiates it. You can take a little bit of both or you just pick one. Yeah. That's true.
And also to like sometimes I mean, you would do this too because in classes like you'd read scripts of like movies you've seen, and it's always satisfying like when like it's like an earlier draft, so things might be different than like compared to the movie you've already seen. It's like okay, like that was a good change like from the script to the screen, like certain things. Like even just like the Terminator, I read that. I don't think it was I think it was like a treatment. It was like a big like synopsis, and there was like a detail when. Like in the Terminator, like, the Kyle Reese character, like he comes in. Like originally, I guess in the treatment, there were two people that came back to save Sarah Connor, but then one guy like got fused, because like appear, and like one guy got fused into like a fire escape, so he gets like killed instantly. It's just stuff like that. It's like okay, like. Do you really want to introduce like this whole other character like just to be killed off like in one scene? Like certain things, like okay.
Yeah, exactly. And you just you revise it. It makes more sense ultimately.
Yeah,
usually you like tighten things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes it's just a case of like, do you want to keep this good idea or do you want to have a better movie? Sometimes you just things got to get cut like for the greater good.
Exactly. Right. Right. Unless it's Rebel Moon, then no matter what you do, it's fucked.
Yeah, but I think it helps too, like, because you just wrote a script, and like this, the process of it, like it makes you appreciate what makes good movies work as well as they do, because they follow, even like if they're creative in certain ways, they do follow like certain like structural, layouts, because another professor I had, he mentioned, usually at the 33-minute mark of the, in a movie, like that's like when shit like really gets amped. It's like kind of like the end of the first act. Like you think like Alien, like, the alien goes on John Hurt's face. Like that's like literally at the 33-minute mark. Like, okay, like nothing's the same after this point. Like shit's going down, kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. I love Star Wars, the script of that. To me, that's like the best structure of a film probably ever. Just how perfectly it, like, I love like the introduction. Like it takes like 40 minutes basically to set up. Like Act 1 is basically like 40 minutes, 50 minutes long. It sets up everything perfectly. And then it's just like, I don't know, it's just like perfect. It's like a perfect structure.
Yeah, and a lot of great movies. Yeah, you can break them down that way. Like Fargo. Like the end of the first act is the two guys. The murder's taking place, and then Francis McDormand's character comes into the
like
fold.
The end of the first act of Star Wars is like the Millennium Falcon leaving Tatooine.
Yeah, just about. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But just like in all that time, it's a good amount. It's a good chunk of time. But they set up a lot. And they set it up in a really exciting way. Like you're never bored. And it's just like, wow. Usually that's like the most boring shit in a movie is like the setup. Like you don't want to, like, when you start a movie, you're like, oh, I gotta like watch all the boring stuff at the beginning to get what's happening. But in Star Wars, that's like one of the best parts of the whole film is like learning who everyone is. And
Yeah. You want to get a audience hooked right away. It's like another one like Uncut Gems. Like as soon as it starts, like Adam Sandler, he's like fucking yelling at the phone. He goes to work. People hitting him. It's like whoa, like it sucks you in. Plenty of examples like that. Yeah, you want to like get. It's like the beginning of the movie. Like people. Like what is this about? Like why? Yeah, why do I care what's going on?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Mm-hmm. All right. I think we're good.
Good question. We'll cover some good movies.
Look out! It's an ape.
Look out! It's a rebel moon.
I'll see you later. I'm going to explore the jungle.
Get to the chopper.
What's his name? The guy from Apocalypse Now, the
Colonel Kurtz
character. Yeah,
Colonel Kurtz.
I want to find Colonel Kurtz.
Yeah, shrouded in darkness.
Yeah.
Bye.
Right, bye.